Killing James Doakes in Season 2 might be the biggest mistake that Dexter ever made. Doakes wasn't just another cop. He was the only one who saw through Dexter's fake smile from the very beginning. He wasn't buying the quiet lab geek act, and that constant suspicion gave the show an edge that just was unparalleled. It truly was. But instead of letting that tension simmer into something legendary, the writers cut him down in Season 2 of the show. And that choice didn't just rob us of an amazing character, it crippled the show's ability to land a satisfying ending. So today we're breaking down the wasted potential of James Doakes, why his death was a mistake, how he could have completely changed Dexter's trajectory, and what the finale might have looked like if Doakes had actually lived in terms of the story. Now mind you, I have to say this isn't a video about whether I liked Season 2 or not. I don't want you to confuse the fact that I actually loved Season 2. I even loved what happens to Doakes in general in Season 2. It's just this concept of wasted potential because they killed such an important story off so early on. That's what it's focused on, not as much about Season 2 being bad. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in. Though you're probably here because you know who he is, let's just give a quick refresher. James Doakes was Miami Metro's hard-nosed sergeant, ex-special forces, short fuse, zero patience for bullshit, and from episode 1 he knew something wasn't right about Dexter Morgan. While everyone else at the station bought into Dexter's nice guy persona, Doakes saw literally like straight through it. He didn't laugh at any of his jokes. He didn't buy the charm. Every time Dexter walked into the room, Doakes' eyes screamed, "I see you." Like every time. And honestly, I have to say it here, I do not know how he was the only character in Miami Metro, at least for the longest time, that was that suspicious of him. I have no idea, because in the real world, there'd be a lot of characters who would be on to Dexter, but I guess that's the price we got to pay for really good TV. Regardless though, that's what made their dynamics so electric. Doakes wasn't a friend. He wasn't comic relief. He was pure tension, pure, raw tension. And sure, some of the things he said in his serious moments were hilarious, but that wasn't really the point. But then Season 2 happens. The Bay Harbor Butcher case explodes, Doakes gets pinned as the killer, and before he can clear his name, Lila blows him up in the cabin. Just like that, the one man who could have truly brought down Dexter is gone. And here's the problem. Killing Doakes that early didn't just shock the audience, it cornered the writers. They burned their best card, their most organic way to pay off the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline, and it left the show scrambling for how to end Dexter's story later on. You see, Doakes was built for the long game. He wasn't just another detective sniffing around. He was the relentless shadow that never bought Dexter's act. Imagine if he had stuck around for multiple seasons, always circling, always pressuring Dexter without ever having the proof to nail him. And I know some people might think that would get annoying quick. I know the writers just explained what they did with Batista later on as to keeping him not around for too long because it keeps the story, it keeps you not annoyed with him. I do understand that, but there are ways that they could have been at least a little more subtle about him. You know what I mean? We could have spanned this out in a way that didn't feel annoying. And you see, that's the tension that the show thrived on. Every time Dexter went hunting, every time he slipped even slightly, the audience would have had Doakes in the back of their minds. Like, what if he catches him this time? Instead, the writers just hit fast forward. They pushed Doakes to the breaking point in Season 2, and then just removed him. But if you stretch that arc over years, Dexter's paranoia skyrockets, his methods get sloppier, and the cat and mouse game feels just so much richer. And I mean, here's the kicker of the whole thing. We know the writers understood the value of this dynamic because they did end up recycling it with LaGuerta in Season 7. But the truth is, that storyline would have just hit so much harder if it was Doakes. And not that LaGuerta's didn't, but it's just, he already had the story, the instincts, and the credibility to pull that off with tons of evidence to back it up. If you had built that over time and not made that moment seem just so quick, it would have been more, I guess the word is believable. I guess my question to you at this point is, how differently do you think the show would feel if Doakes was still in the picture at this point? The Bay Harbor Butcher storyline was the storyline that put Dexter on the map. It was the perfect mix of suspension, morality, and danger. But instead of letting it simmer into an endgame payoff, the writers just dumped it all into Season 2 and slapped Doakes' name on it. And sure, they followed this up, like I already mentioned, with LaGuerta. It's just, it was done in a different way and just felt like a repackaging of the same thing. thing. Another thing people do forget about Doakes is even though he is serious, like I mentioned earlier, he is funny as hell. Not in like the goofy, lighthearted way that Batista or Masuka were. Doakes' humor just came from pure aggression. And honestly, some of the most memorable clips for me, and the ones that I go back to all the time, are like the montages or the compilations of Doakes like freaking out at Dexter. His one-liners, his explosive rants, the way he just cut Dexter down with a glare or like a stay the hell out of my way. It broke tension in the best possible way. And them two on screen, I think, was arguably one of the best items about Dexter. It was like one of the best features of the show is that dynamic. So losing it after season 2, it really did feel like something was missed. I think the whole concept of this Miami Metro storyline that everyone loves so much is heavily based on the foundation of Doakes. Sure, you could argue Batista's in there, Masuka's in there, and obviously Deb, but Doakes is kind of that glue that held that storyline so close in a cohesive way that was fun. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? If you are, definitely comment the illustrious dolphin. The reality is that balance did matter. Dexter was a dark show, but Doakes gave it this raw, unfiltered edge that somehow doubled as comic relief. Like when he died, Dexter just lost that unique tone. It really did. And as I mentioned, Batista and Quinn tried to fill that void at some time. Same with Masuka. It never landed the same. When LaGuerta was suspicious against him, it didn't land the same. And I really do believe, not to be super repetitive here, but I do really believe that Doakes could have been around longer, and there could have been more of a story arc with him over time. Sure, his arc was kind of complete in season 2, but it did feel rushed. Even though I think season 2 is my personal favorite season of Dexter, I think they did rush it just a little bit to the point where I'm left itching for more of him. And I think we all are. I think everyone loves Doakes. I just think ultimately when you put LaGuerta in that position, it didn't have like the same weight that Doakes did. Like, okay, we followed LaGuerta longer, but the way they portrayed it on screen didn't have that, like, I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say. It just didn't feel the same. Like, it didn't. I think ultimately, if it was him in that season and it lasted a long time, maybe not to season 7, but if it lasted a longer time and it ended in the same sort of way where Doakes was the decision between him and Dexter, like, and Deb had to make that call, I think that would have been really, really cool. And sure, Lila was cool too, but I feel like it's so hard to just show your hand that early with the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline. I really do believe that that is what kind of changed the trajectory of Dexter and made it impossible for the show to ever actually land. Because how do you do the Bay Harbor Butcher? How do you do Doakes, your biggest quote-unquote antagonist to Dexter, in your second season when you have 8 seasons of the show and 2 spin-offs outside of Original Sin? It's just hard for me to swallow that. Now look, I know some people will push back on this take, so I went over some counterpoints and I'm going to list them out here. Starting with counterpoint 1, Doakes had to die. He was too dangerous. Dexter couldn't function with him alive. And sure, on paper that makes sense. Doakes was relentless. He wasn't going to stop until he had Dexter nailed. But the thing is, the danger is exactly what the show needed. Tension is the lifeblood of Dexter, and keeping Doakes alive forces Dexter to adapt. It forces him to get smarter and keeps the audience sweating every time they share a scene. And the next counterpoint is counterpoint 2, that season 2 was peak. Doakes' death made it unforgettable. And I certainly won't deny it. As I said in the beginning, season 2 is legendary and my favorite season of the main series of Dexter. Doakes' death was shocking. It gave us iconic moments and it cemented this season as, in my opinion, as I mentioned, the best. But shock value is short term. By burning Doakes so early, the writers robbed themselves of long-term storytelling. If you're one of the fans who hated Dexter's ending, I'd argue this decision was the root cause. And then there's counterpoint 3, LaGuerta filled that role just fine. And look, again, she did bring tension back into the show, But she's not Doakes. She didn't have the same chemistry with Dexter. She didn't have the same instincts, and the audiences weren't nearly invested. That storyline worked, but it could have been just more iconic if it had been Doakes. So yeah, his death gave us a strong season, but in the bigger picture, it took away the cleanest, most righteous way to end the Bay Harbor Butcher story. And that's why I'll always personally call it a mistake, though I'm very happy with season 2. I think ultimately, Dexter is still just fine on its own how it is and how it went, even with the blunders of season 8 and, in some people's eyes, New Blood, though I liked New Blood. It's just, in the end of the day, there's no way around that thought that if Doakes was around, they could have actually nailed this ending more, because it would have furthered out the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline. I mean, in general, it wasn't exactly believable to begin with that he was the Bay Harbor Butcher. I feel like anyone in Miami Metro, anyone in a real homicide department or the FBI would look at this and be like, something is really weird about this picture. Obviously, this isn't the real world, and that's what makes Dexter so fun, but I feel like they could have handled this in such a different way while still making season 2 an outstanding season. I don't know, those are my thoughts. I apologize if this is a little repetitive. I'm just trying to hammer home the point I'm trying to make. Had to do it. Someone had to do it. But with all that out of the way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and comment the illustrious dolphin if you are picking up what I'm putting down. With all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.